And he came out with Terah, and they went up north as far as Haran, and in Haran his father Terah died. And that left Abraham in a terrible situation. They had nothing back in Ur of the Chaldees. They had no place to go ahead of them. Abraham had no father, and he had no children. So in the sense that society thought, Abraham had nothing. He had absolutely no hope. And God came to him and said, Abraham, I'm going to put my spirit into you, and when my spirit is in you, I'm going to change your life so you will have wonderful hope and a wonderful future. And Abraham believed what God said to him. Later on, when the Apostle Paul was writing his letter to the church in Rome, in the 5th chapter, in the 5th verse, he says this of Abraham: Abraham hoped when there was no reason to hope. That's the kind of substantial hope that we want to have. The next place where hope shows up in Scripture in a really powerful way is at the time of the prophet Jeremiah, when all of Israel had been wiped out completely. The temple had been destroyed. It was 586 BC, under the reign of the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar. Israel was laid waste. And in the midst of that, Jeremiah said to his people, you must have hope. Because if we have hope, God will come in and God will give us a future. And in the same time period, Isaiah the prophet spoke the wonderful words that we use for a call to worship this morning. And remember, when he was speaking these words, he was talking in a literal sense. Israel was destroyed. Its peoples were exiled. All of its cities were burned to the ground. And Isaiah in the 11th chapter had the nerve to say to his people, the house of Israel is like a tree that has been cut down. But there shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, a new king raised up from the lineage of the great King David, and the Spirit of God will be within him and will give him wisdom and knowledge to lead his people. Hope when there is no reason for hope. All through Scripture, hope is listed off as one of the big three of the qualities God commends to us, but sometimes we lose it in the midst of the other two qualities. The three things that Scripture says over and over again are these: faith, hope, love. Again and again and again, God says, have faith, have hope, have love. And clearly, God believes that hope is substantial and powerful and great. And what hope does is this, and this is slightly different from what love does or what faith does. Hope is always strangely connected with the idea that when you hope, God comes in. When you hope, it's like opening a doorway into that other world that we cannot see, and when you open that doorway, God comes in. And if you have ever thought to yourself, I don't have hope, I think that hope is foolish, please remember today, hope is the place where God comes into your life. I know that there are many arguments against hope. And I have spoken with many people who have said to me, Mark, I do not have hope. Because I have hoped for things in the past, and I have been disappointed by hope again and again and again, to the extent that I do not want to hope for anything ever again. I cannot stand to be disappointed anymore. And if you come into the sanctuary this morning with that feeling in your heart, there's two things I want to say to you. The first thing is this: my prayers go out to you. have been disappointed, if you have hoped for something and you did not receive it, you have my prayers and my sorrow and my compassion. God bless you and God heal you. And I hope you know that God is with you in your sadness. The second thing I have to say to you is this: hope again. Do not think, no matter how many times you have been disappointed, do not think that hope is wrong or hope is only hurtful. I plead with you in the name of Christ, have hope again. I've learned about hope from reading what it is in Scripture. There I have seen what a substantial thing it is. But more than that, I have learned about hope from people who are courageous and faithful and loving. I remember an occasion when I was working with a young couple who had a little child. And the child was very ill, and all of the doctors had said of that child, "We cannot save your child's life." And all through that process, no matter how much the doctors said, "We can't save this child's life," the parents always said to me, "We have hope. We have hope." The child died. I thought to myself, the faith and hope and love of these parents is now destroyed. And after the services were done, about a month after the funeral, I went to see that family, and in the midst of talking to them, they said to me, "Mark, we are broken and we are hurt and we are sad, but we have hope." And they were still saying, "We have hope." And I think that when they said that to me, they could see that I was looking at them with some confusion. And they said, "Mark, we know what you're thinking. You think that we were hoping for our child to live, and we were hoping for that, but our hope went much deeper than just that. And now that he is gone, this is what we hope for. We hope that God is love. Because if God is love, then God knows us and cares about us and feels our sadness with us. And if God is love, we have trust in the direction that the whole universe is going. If love is the foundation under everything, then we can bear our grief. And secondly, we have the hope that our child's life is ultimately meaningful and significant, even though he died so young. And if we can have the assurance that in spite of his short life, his death was powerful and great and significant and eternal, then we can bear the grief. And finally, we have hope that we will feel the presence of God. Because if God is around us, and if God is within us, then we will have courage and strength and even joy in spite of this sadness. They had hope in three things. Hope that God is love. Hope that life is meaningful. Hope that God is with us. And those are the most substantial things in the world. They are worth building your life. Sometimes we misunderstand the use of the word hope. In Scripture, hope is always directed towards something tremendously substantial and powerful. I know you are all hoping it doesn't snow next week. I know you are all hoping you're going to have something good for supper. That's not what biblical hope is. Acts 24:15 says this: "When you have hope, direct your hope towards God, because that is where hope belongs."